You know, Steven Spielberg must love the X-Files because he wants to believe. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Disclosure Day, the 34th film from director Steven Spielberg. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Steven Spielberg is back. He's doing an alien movie. He's working with David Koepp again. And this movie, of course, is what if aliens have been around forever and the government or a corporation have kept it secret. So in process, we have, of course, Josh O'Connor, who plays Daniel, who's basically stolen a bunch of secrets from a place called Wardex, which is run by a character played by Colin Firth. And in the process, he is going to disclosure it to everyone in the world because everyone in the world needs to know about aliens, apparently. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have Emily Blunt, who plays Margaret Fairchild, who is a weather girl. She basically, during the middle of a weather report, starts making weird noises, and she can, tell people who they are and what they are just by looking at them. And basically, it's a story about aliens. Are they real? Why are the government and the corporations hiding them? And how are these two individuals, played by Josh O'Connor and, of course, Emily Blunt, how are they involved in the scenario and why are they so important? And then on top of that, you have Coleman Domingo, you have Hewson, and like I said, Colin Firth. And it basically is Spielberg going back to the alien genre in a lot of respects, the UFO genre, but with a different twist on that kind of material. So there you go. So Steven Spielberg, what can you say about the guy? The guy creates some of the most memorable movies of all time: Close Encounters, Minority Report, Jaws, Jurassic Park, you can name it. He's done it. This movie is something that he has talked about in interviews as being something that he wants to make people realize that there are aliens among us. Not aliens when it comes to illegal immigrants or immigrants. He's talking about aliens, UFOs, something that's kind of become a big mainstay in the in the government world as they released files and documents and stuff like that. But I had real no faith in this movie. I'm not a huge fan of David Koepp. It's not that I don't think he's a bad writer. I just don't like his movies very much. But he's back with Steven Spielberg. Of course, he's famous for doing Jurassic Park. Spielberg is Spielberg. He's got his whole entire crew here, whether it be Michael Kahn or John Williams. The cast is interesting. Emily Blunt and of course Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Hewson, Coleman Domingo. I don't think any of these people have been in a Spielberg movie before, or at least nothing I can remember. So this is an interesting cast. But with Spielberg, you're going to get something at least unique and interesting. So when it comes to my honest review of this movie, I think this is probably Spielberg's best movie since Catch Me If You Can, to be fairly honest. I think this is a fantastic, wonderful, interesting, intriguing sci-fi movie. It definitely has some flaws, which a lot of Spielberg movies do when it comes to the way he and Janusz Kaminski shoot movies. They're very similar. They're very blue. I don't think he changes his style, but there are some cool stuff that they do, whether you use of steady cams or the use of just moving up on people going through. There's a lot of cool one shots in this movie that I really appreciate. And Spielberg is doing Spielberg's thing. It's a movie where it deals with lost childhoods and it deals with, corporations and entities hiding stuff from people and how we have to be better with each other, and it deals with adults making mistakes and adults being not on the level and people suffering, and there's a lot of Spielberg tropes, to be fairly honest. You look at the Fablemans, you look at Jaws, you look at E.T., it's all the same type of stuff, and how Spielberg kind of elates himself onto the screen in a lot of respects. But the movie is amazing, to be fairly honest. It's a really interesting idea and premise. For a David Koepp movie, I was really surprised. I think Josh O'Connor is really good in this movie. He's a really talented actor. I think he's fun as the guy trying to escape Wardex, the Colin Firth company. His girlfriend, played by Hewson, is, somebody. This is an interesting part of this movie, too, is it deals with faith, it deals with religion, because the idea of, if we have things out in the world, if we have things that we don't understand out in the world, the belief in God really affect that. And I think that's a really powerful message. That's something that Spielberg doesn't do a lot in his movies, which is how God affects, or how the belief of God or belief of religion affects with something like a alien disclosure would go out there into the world. How would we, because there's a whole idea of we're so, it's actually, there's a thing in Men in Black, which where Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith are sitting there talking, and Will Smith brings up something about why does not a lot of people know about this, and Tommy Lee Jones goes, well, if people would find out, they're panicky, dumb, and stupid. So that's what this movie's kind of idea is. If aliens were real, in this movie they are, what would happen if you disclose that to the entire world? And that is what Ward X is trying to take away and trying to keep, because they're worried that it's going to cause a calamity, because there's also something else going on in this movie with North Korea and stuff like that. So it's dealing with a lot of those kind of subjects. But back to what I think about when it comes to the movie, I think Josh O'Connor gives a pretty good performance, but he's not the star of this movie. It's actually Emily Blunt, who I think deserves an Oscar for this movie. She's so good. She's so funny. She's so interesting to watch. Watching her have to speak a bunch of different languages, watching her try to understand and kind of conceive of what's going on. It's really a great performance by Emily Blunt. I think she doesn't get a lot of credit sometimes for how good she is as an actress, but I think she's really talented here. I think she does a really fantastic job. And when the two come together, when Josh O'Connor's character and Emily's character come together, there's a great chemistry that you kind of are missing, because she's dating Wyatt Russell's character, and there's a lot of stuff missing that kind of forms when they become a kind of a thing. And you have Colin Firth, who's kind of playing the heavy in this movie, and I think Colin Firth does a pretty decent job. I think he's overshadowed by Emily Blunt's character and Josh O'Connor's character, and he does become a little mustache twirly and stuff like that. Eve Hewson is once again is dealing with the whole religion aspect, so you have to deal with that. But then there's Coleman Domingo, who plays Hugo, who is another person that worked for Ward X, like Josh O'Connor's character. And he's kind of like the anchor point, the thing that everything kind of rotates around, because what he's trying to embellish and what he's trying to do is affecting the things that are happening between Colin Firth's character and happening between Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor's character. And the revelations, which I won't spoil, are kind of the mixture into what ends up happening. But it's a really remarkable, really interesting idea and concept of like, what would you do if you found out aliens existed and stuff like that. But in the kind of negatives, this movie's a little too long. It only needed to be like 2 hours, and it's 2.5 hours. It does drag a little bit. The ending, depending on how you feel, can be a little left wanting, to be fairly honest. And once again, the style and substance that Janusz Kaminski and Spielberg, who have been working together since Schindler's List, are working with in this movie, can feel a little samey. I think after Minority Report, Spielberg kind of falls into the same colors and hues and lighting, a lot of lens flares and a lot of close-ups like he does with the eyes and stuff like that. And it's a little boring, to be fairly honest. I would like Spielberg to change, but he's 70 some years old, so he's probably not going to change. But it doesn't take away. This movie's fantastic. John Williams' score is very recognizable. He'll get an Oscar nomination. It's fantastic as well. But this movie was like a complete surprise. The trailers were terrible. I was not expecting to like this movie, and it ended up being way better than I thought it was going to be. So that is my take on Disclosure Day. I think it really works. It did get mixed reactions from people, so take that for what it's worth. It may not be for you, but no, going in, I think this is one of my favorite movies of the year, to be fairly honest, and I highly recommend it. But that is my take on Disclosure Day, the 34th film from Steven Spielberg. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Comments below. Favorite Spielberg movie? Are you looking forward to Disclosure Day? Let me know why. But otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, awesome. Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.